So we have the Subaru in the shop today to finish up the slew of mods we started on the other day. We got a bunch of stuff done, but we had to hold off on the finishing touches, the really fun parts in my opinion, because we were missing some parts we needed to make it all work. So what we've got done so far, we did ATS-V front brakes. These things are absolute monsters. Subaru 06 WRX 2-pot rears. We redid the exhaust, tucked it up super nice and tight to keep give us as much ground clearance as possible. Redid it pretty much all the way up. We also did a new top mount intercooler from Mishimoto, which is up top. I'll show you guys that later. But the last thing, there's a couple other things. But anyway, what we're doing today is putting an equal length turbo manifold on it. So right now we have an unequal length manifold on it. As you can see, these runners are a lot longer than these runners. Basically what the mid length does is it evens out the runner length. It's equal length obviously as well, and shorter length at that. So it gives you a little more mid-range spool up and such. The difficulty is you have to swap the oil pan. So we've got this big flat bottom pan which doesn't have much clearance for the exhaust and also doesn't control the oil very well. So we're gonna be going to a different pan, a newer pan that's kind of more of a V shape, and that'll give us room for the equal length header to come through here. We are also gonna have to do something about our radiator location. You know, I can move it forward about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch. Half inch. So I think that might be enough, but we won't know until we swap the pan, and swapping the pan is a good idea anyway, because again, it helps with oil control, oil sloshing, and we do track this car. So that oil control is very important in any car. If you don't have good oil control and your oil sloshing around and away from your pickup, bad news bear. So we definitely want to make sure that that's handled, whether or not we can fit the specific header that we got. If we can't, we'll get another nice one, but the one we have I really like, and I'd really prefer to make it work. So that is what we were doing today. I'm gonna grab the parts and we're gonna get started. All right, got all the parts together. Let's get them out of the boxes. Alrighty, here's what we've got. So we've got our different oil pan. You can see how much smaller the sump is. This helps keep the oil from sloshing away from the pickup because it's got a smaller central area essentially. And I think it does have better baffling. We also have a baffle, really more of a windage tray for it that's gonna go in. We had to get a different pickup tube for that and a different oil dipstick for that to make this pan work. So we have all the stuff to make the pan work. I kind of, you know, got some mud flaps. Can't help it, it's a Subaru, right? I am a little indifferent on the red. It's closer to the red of the car than I thought it was. That might actually be a pretty close match. It's just gonna look a little weird if it's a different red, but the black ones, you can't even see them on there. So I don't know. We'll see how it looks, but I'm excited to put some mud flaps on it. We also have a red oil cooler from Mishimoto, a thermostatic oil cooler plate from Mishimoto, since we're gonna be doing the pan, draining the oil, doing an oil change. Might as well try to get this knocked out. I have lines and stuff as well. And then this really nice turbo manifold. It's definitely on the pricier end, even for a Subaru, which Subaru manifolds are expensive because they're a lot bigger than a small like inline 4-cylinder. One of those things you really don't want to cheap out on. The one that's on there now has like warped flanges and it's a mess, and it's a lower end one. So I'm really excited to get that on if it'll fit. But the collector here is going to hit the radiator, and eyeballing it, it looks like if we can get the radiator like a ½ inch forward, it'll clear. We will find out. So first order of business though is going to be getting the old pan off, getting the new pan on. It's going to be a little tricky, so I want to dive into that first, and obviously we can't put the header on until we put that on, and then this stuff is lowest on the priority list. So let's get started on ripping that pan off. Oh man, I like to blame the previous owner for how tight that was, but I'm definitely the one who put it on. I think it was leaking and I tightened it down a little more. Oh, she does not like me today. It's the worst when you've got a bolt or something where it's like half the turn is easy and half the turn is hard. I have to get showered here. I always like push in on the plug and kind of try to feel when it's about to come out. Hold it against it and oh, it almost missed. This thing is definitely due for an oil change anyway. So one thing I'm unsure of is these rear bolts. I don't know how I'm supposed to get them out. Sure, I can. They're not like impossible to get to. They definitely don't look easy to get to by any means. Find out. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the turbo manifold out just to get it out of our way while we do our pan. Need more power. Every time I pull this header out, I forget the O2 sensor until I got it halfway out. Not this time, I remembered. Ah! Tried to save it. Alright, I'm gonna loosen the motor mounts. Try to lift this thing up some. Alright, I've got the engine jacked up. You can see the stud there. I left it just in the hole to keep everything located. I have plenty of room now to get to these back bolts that you can't really see because the sun's coming in. You can see them now, right there. Obviously not ideal to go up by the oil pan. However, we are going to be replacing this pan, so it's pretty much irrelevant. Obviously, we'll have to do something else for when we put the new pan on, but for now, this is going to work. So let's try to get these bolts out. Come on, bud. All right, 1/4 inch with a wobble, way to go, for sure. 3/8 is just too big. It's sweet, we got the hard ones out of the way. So close. All right, I've got the new baffle / windage tray in, so that's done. The difficulty that we are gonna have is there's gonna be oil, residual oil, like right here, just kind of running its way down, and basically it's gonna wanna seep into the RTV. So I'm gonna let it sit for a little longer, try to clean it off a little more, and then we're gonna go for the pan install. Time has come. There's still a tiny bit of dribbles coming out, but I've got it most of the way clean. Ready to throw some RTV on the pan. Little known fact, you don't need 3-inch thick layer of RTV to do the job. Bro, getting squirrely. You're a relatively thin layer and you're good. I say that because this pan has definitely been off before because it had like a freaking massive amount of RTV on it. The problem is when you put too much RTV, like, it's not gonna stay there. It's just gonna squish out the sides. I mean, it's hard. Like, I often want to put too much RTV on myself. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it as well, but it's just one of those things. You gotta control yourself with the RTVs. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with it on your bolts, in your pan, getting sucked up by your oil pickup, or whatever the case. Funny story for you guys, while I spread this RTV out, I was working at this repair shop, General Automotive Repair. They did a lot of big jobs there. Oh no. Engine swaps, transmission rebuilds, things like that. And this car came in and it wouldn't go into any gear but reverse. So I pull it in, I get it on the lift. It was a minivan. I just started working there. And I'm taking a look at it, and there's just globs of RTV coming out of the pan. And the shop foreman walks up, and he's like, oh, you know, what do you think's wrong with it? And I was like, oh man, some idiot, you know, that was in here before, they put way too much RTV on this pan. You can see, I mean, there's like an inch thick thing coming out. Like, it probably got sucked up in the pump and went through all the clutches and destroyed it. And he goes, all right, interesting, whatever, walks away. And one of the other techs had heard me, and he walked over and he said, hey man, just to let you know, he's the one who rebuilt that transmission. I was like, oh crap. And he didn't like me from that day forward. But, you know, I'm just telling them like it is. Put way too much RTV on it. Gotta try to make sure you get it out of the bolt holes too. Alright, I think we're ready to rip, boys. Oh no, there's more oil coming out. I thought this spot was good. It's been oil free for a while. I'm gonna go for it. Alright, so I've already tested it to make sure I can get this thing over the pickup. That guy. Another important thing with the RTVs is that you do not want to just go ham and tighten the bolts off the rip. You want to snug them up very loosely and then let the RTV cure for an hour and then torque them down. That way the RTV doesn't just squish right out. This is going to be the tricky part. Getting these bolts in the back here. Dang it. All right, new pan is on. We're good. We got fancy, shiny new zinc plated bolts. So yeah, I'm going to test fit the header now. The engine is still jacked up. I need to leave it jacked up to tighten the rear bolts down. I might lower it and then jack it back up. But it's hard to get it kind of right where this isn't trying to lift it off the lift, you know? But anyway, I'm a little nervous, really hoping it looks like it's gonna fit okay, but only one way to find out, right? So let's bring it up here. Oh yeah, it's only like 1/4 of an inch off. So that should be easy enough to move the radiator that far back. We'll have to cut this bracket as well, I think. But yeah, no, it's definitely, we should definitely be able to make it fit, which is sick. I was like, man, if I go through all this and don't make this thing fit, I'm gonna be a little sad. Open up this hole with a carbide burr, make it deeper basically. But then I still gotta figure out how to keep the radiator back because it's gonna wanna slide forward. Or well, keep it forward so it doesn't slide back. I think that's the best plan because we definitely need these. The easy way out would be to forego putting these back in. That would give us the clearance, but again, we need these. Time to get the die grinder. All right, moment of truth. Oh, it's so close. I think we need to go even further forward than that. Just a little bit, so close. Like it'll go on, but it'll rub the radiator. The radiator's moved back as far as it'll go. It still touches a little bit. You can see the witness mark there. So I'm gonna have to grind this down a little bit, just kind of flatten it out basically because it's, you know, it's wanting to dig in because it's basically this edge right here. So I can flatten that out a little bit and that should give us that last bit of clearance we need. Before I do that though, I want to get, you know, the up pipe installed and install, because I can fit it in there, it's just touching. I want to install it and make sure we don't have any other clearance issues before I go grinding into an expensive header that I won't be able to return if I can't make it work. I'm assuming we can, but again, you never want to assume things. So we need to put studs in this guy, get it in, try to get that in, make sure everything mounts up good. And then if we're good there, we'll grind it down, bolt it up for good, move on to the oil cooler and or the mud flaps. Well, I mean, we're gonna do both, but depends on what's next. I don't know which one I want to do next. Whew. Giving our stainless here a quick alcohol wipe because our hands are pretty oily. top part is on. I think we're good there. And we gotta do the bottom. All right, well, it looks like everything should fit. It's hidden. You know, I'm gonna have to grind this down before everything's gonna fit up correctly. So I'm just gonna go for it. Worst case, if we still have issues, I can hammer this in and move the radiator another 1/4 inch forward and it should solve our problem. I prefer not to go through all that because we gotta pull the radiator out and stuff, but yeah, I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna grind into it. Oh, it hurts, but I wanna make it work. So we're gonna make it work. All right, let's actually install it now. Alrighty, the header is in. It's a little tight to the radiator, but we made it work. Fits good. New gaskets, yada yada. You can see the V-band there. That I'm a little concerned about. It wasn't lining up perfect. It seems like it went in good, but it's always hard to tell with V-bands. You can't really see if they're in right, you know, once you got them clamped down. But so far everything looks good, and yeah, so next order of business would be the sandwich plate, but I forgot to order fittings for it. I forgot I needed to order fittings. I do need to go get an oil filter, so we're gonna take the old LS Miata to the store to go get an oil filter, because why not? I've got this thing street registered and I've driven it only a handful of times in the several months I've had it registered again, so might as well enjoy it. It's a relatively nice day too. Expansion tank's blowing up. Well, that's disappointing. I was excited to drive this thing. Good. My expansion tank's blowing up. I was like, why does it smell like coolant? And then I was like, oh, you idiot. Totally forgot about that. New filter's on. Made a little bit of a mess, it got slippery. Anyway, time to lay mud flaps. All right, I already got the other side done. These go on super easy. All right, now we just got to do the last rear one. What she looks like with mud flaps. I dig it. I know some people are probably gonna hate it, but I think it looks, it doesn't look good in the camera. It doesn't look as good as it does in real life. I promise I'm not just saying that. All right, we've given this thing plenty of time to dry, so if it leaks now, it's our fault. Alrighty, now we get to see how it sounds. So I'll bring you guys around back. Oh, I left my keys inside, dang it. I'll be back. Everyone said it would lose all the rumble, but still got some rumble to it. Definitely sounds less like a boxer engine. I'll have to put a camera back here so we can hear it on a full rip mode. one's not really in the best place for showing you guys what she looks like with the mud flaps, but that's the somewhat warmed up sound. I love the mud flaps, man. I absolutely love the mud flaps. It looks sick, man. I know it's a, it's more of a road course car, but you can see we got some dirt on the thing, they're needed. They're necessary. All right, let's go take this thing for a drive, see how it sounds. And drives, obviously. All right, so for those of you who may not have seen some of the other videos on this, basically, this was kind of a long on and off project. Basically, we finally got it tuned right before a track day, and on that track day, we blew up the flex joint going up to the turbo, so pre-turbo, so it was making hardly any boost. And basically what we figured out was that that flex joint was on its way out when the car got tuned, because the car was really laggy in the mid-range. It'd pick up to like 10 PSI, and then it would take till, another 2,000 RPM to get that last bit of, 7, 8 PSI. So I fixed that, and then found out the header had warped flanges, and like I changed the gaskets. I did all this stuff, and by the last time, which is when we were supposed to put this header on, couldn't fit it because I had the wrong oil pan. I got it sealing as best as it has ever been, and the car was like night and day better. So presumably this one shouldn't have any leaks. So it should be even better than that, but it is going to be too rich. It's going to need a new tune-up. But just off the tip end, it feels a lot heavier. while she's still running, see how everything looks. We need to give her a bath too. She is dirty. There's love bug season here in Florida. If you don't know what love bugs are, I don't know the story. I've heard it's a myth, but long story short, they're bugs that just mate all the time, and then there's a ton of them in certain seasons. And anyway, I keep talking. I'm just excited, honestly. This thing is sick. Gave this thing a much needed and well-deserved bath. I am going to replace the windshield. I'm just going to have the guys come out and do that and the Ford at the same time. But anyway, really happy with this car, man. I am so stoked on how this thing has been turning out. We've done a lot in a little bit of time, you know, with the brakes and the header and just a bunch of stuff that really drastically improved the car, you know, all kind of right back to back. And yeah, mod wise, this is pretty much it for stage one, besides getting a retune. And then I've got to fix some stuff like my rear door harnesses. I don't have the right ones, so I need to try to find the right ones, or, you know, modify the connector on mine to work with my chassis harness so that the rear windows and locks work. And, you know, there's a little knick-knack stuff like that. But for the most part, you know, this is what I wanted to do in stage one. I say stage one because, you know, who knows, down the road, months, years, I might, you know, decide to do a built motor, bigger turbo, better trans, you know, all that kind of nonsense. Make this car like a 400 or 500 horsepower car. But for now, this is what I was going for. You know, it should make, with the new header and everything fixed up, it should make right around 300 wheel. It made 280 before, and very responsive 300 wheel, good suspension. I'd like to do some arms too. Some suspension arms upgrades, so add that to the list. That would really be kind of the last thing for stage one. But anyway, moral of the story is, really happy with this car. I love this thing. Such a fun, good little car. It does such a good job. It's fun to drive. It's super comfortable. It's cool and unique. You know, AC works great. Rides nice. Like I love this little thing as a street car. So anyway, can't wait to take it to the track next. Hopefully soon, and hopefully with Adam's new Evo, because it'll be a little closer to this. Still going to be faster, but you know, it's more for just fun ripping around with him than anything else. Not like we're racing each other, but that'll be really fun. So I can't wait to do that. But for now, I think it pretty much wraps us up. So next video, we'll be diving back into the Finalizing build and hopefully getting her driving. So I'll see you guys for that. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.